Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila Chapter 4, the confidential reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, text 133 onwards. Vishay Jatiya Sukhamara Asva Nama Haite Koti Gun Ashreya Raland. I taste the bliss to which the object of love is entitled, but the pleasure of Radha, the abode of that love, is 10 million times greater. So object of love is Krishna, definitely. But the abode of love, abode means the home of that love, that is 10 million times greater. Ashreya jatiya sukh paite manadhaya, yatne aswadite nari kikari upaya. My mind races to taste the pleasure experienced by the abode, but I cannot taste it, even by my best efforts. How may I taste it? Kabu yadi prema rahaya ashraya, tabe prema nandir anubhavaya. If sometime I can be the abode of that love, only then may I taste its joy. So Vishay and Ashray are two very significant words relating to the reciprocation between Krishna and his devotee. The devotee is called the Ashray and his beloved Krishna is the Vishay. Different ingredients are involved in the exchange of love between the Ashray and Vishay, which are known as Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvic and Vyavichari Bhav. Vibhav is divided into two categories, Alamban and Uddipan. Alamban may be further divided into Ashray and Vishay. In the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna, Radha Rani is the Ashray feature and Krishna is the Vishay. The transcendental consciousness of the Lord tells him, I am Krishna and I experience pleasure as a Vishay. The pleasure enjoyed by Radharani, the Ashray, is many times greater than the pleasure I feel. Therefore, to feel the pleasure of the Ashray category, Lord Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In another way to understand this, now Radharani is the abode of love and Krishna is the subject. Now, although Radharani is completely in love with Krishna, gives him all the pleasure, but that abode, first of all, it might have more love than Krishna is getting, Krishna is thinking, and I taste the enjoyment from Vishay point of view, but I want to taste the enjoyment from Ashray point of view. And for that point of view, I had to take her mood because she is the Ashray. It's just so deep. We cannot even understand all these things. It's just amazing. Eta chinti rahe Krishna parama kotuki hriday badaye prema loba dhak dhaki. Thinking in this way, Lord Krishna was curious to taste that love. His eager desire for that love increasingly blazed in his heart. That is one desire. Now please hear of another. Seeing his own beauty, Lord Krishna began to consider. Adbhut, Ananta, Purna, Mora Madhurima, Tri Jagate Har Keha Nahi Paya Sima. My sweetness is wonderful, infinite, and full. No one in the three worlds can find its limit. So sweetness, sweetness of his beauty. এই প্রেম দ্বারে নিত্য রাধিকা একালি আমার মাধুর্য অমৃতা আস্বাদে সকাল. Only Radhika, by the strength of her love, tastes all the nectar of my sweetness. By the strength of her love. Now that nectar that she is tasting will be different from, it's the same Krishna, same beauty, same sweetness, what his friends, Bal Sakhas, Sakhas, Gopals are tasting, what Yashoda Maya tasting, Nanda Baba is tasting, same sweet, same beauty, same sweetness. But Radharani, what is she tasting? That's what he wanted to find out. यद्यपि निर्मल राधार सत प्रेम दर्पण तथापि स्वच्छता तार बाणे क्षण क्षण. Although Radha's love is pure like a mirror, its purity increases at every moment. Amara madhurya nahi badite avakash ei darpaner aage nav nav rupe bhashe. My sweetness also has no room for expansion, yet it shines before that mirror in newer and newer beauty. So sweetness is one thing, or the beauty of sweetness, but the mirror, now if the mirror is heart of Radharani, then that sweetness keeps on increasing. Man madhurya radhar prema dohe hodakari kshane kshane bade dohe keha nahi kahari. There is constant competition between my sweetness and the mirror of Radha's love. They both go on increasing, but neither knows defeat. Amar madhurya nitya nav nav haya swasva prema anurupe bhakteya swadaya. My sweetness is always newer and newer. Devotees taste it according to their own respective love. दर्पणाद्य देखी यदि आपन माधुरी आस्वादिते हाय लोभा आस्वादिते नारी. If I see my sweetness in a mirror, I'm tempted to taste it, but nevertheless I cannot. विचार करिए यदि आस्वाद उपाय राधिका स्वरूप हैते तबे मन धान. If I deliberate on a way to taste it, I find that I hanker for the position of Radhika. Krishna's attractiveness is wonderful and unlimited. No one can know the end of it. Srimati Radharani alone can relish such extensiveness from her position in the Ashraya category. The mirror of Srimati Radharani's transcendental love is perfectly clear. Yet it appears clearer and clearest in the transcendental method of understanding Krishna. In the mirror of Radharani's heart, the transcendental features of Krishna appear increasingly new and fresh. In other words, the attraction of Krishna increases in proportion to the understanding of Srimati Radharani. Each tries to supersede the others. Neither wants to be defeated, increasing the intensity of love. Desiring to understand Radharani's attitude of increasing love, Lord Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Desiring to understand Radharani's attitude of increasing love, because that love increases when she tastes the beauty of Krishna, the sweetness of Krishna. And Krishna, when he sees that love is increasing, then his beauty increases automatically. Your sweetness also increases. So there is a competition. Aparikalita purva kash chamatkar-kari surati mam garyan esh madhurya pura. Ayam aham api hanta preksha yam lubdha cheta sarvhasham upabhoktum kame radhikeva. who manifests an abundance of sweetness greater than mine, which has never been experienced before and which causes wonder to all. Alas, I myself, my mind bewildered upon seeing this beauty, impetuously desire to enjoy it like Srimati Radharani. This text is from Lalit Madhava, Srila Rupa Goswami. It was spoken by Lord Krishna when he saw the beauty of his own reflection in a jeweled fountain in Dwarka. So as we know, Dwarka, he had 16,108 palaces, and every palace was exquisitely beautiful with, with all the most elegant jewels in the columns and in the walls and in the fountains of the palaces of Dwarka. And Krishna once saw his beauty reflected in one of the jewels, in a jeweled fountain in Dwarka. And then he was thinking, who is this so beautiful person, such a beautiful person? And then he was thinking of Radharani. My mind bewildered upon seeing this beauty. Now he was thinking, impetuously desire to enjoy it like Srimati Radharani. Because that will be the topmost enjoyment of his own beauty. Krishna Madhurera ek swabhavika bala, Krishna adi nara nari kare chanchala. The beauty of Krishna has one natural strength. It thrills the hearts of all men and women, beginning with Lord Krishna himself. So this is what his beauty does. It thrills the hearts of all. Shravane darshane akarche sarvaman, apana swadite Krishna karena jatan. All minds attracted by hearing his sweet voice and flute, or by seeing his beauty. Even Lord Krishna himself makes efforts to taste that sweetness. Ei madhuryamrita pana sadaye kare, Trishna shanti nahe Trishna bade nirantare. The thirst of one who always drinks the nectar of that sweetness is never satisfied. Rather, that thirst increases constantly. So can we imagine a drink? We are very thirsty and we get that very sweet nectarian drink. But more we drink it, more our thirst increases. That can only happen in spiritual world. Atripta hayakare vidhiranindan avidagdha vidhi bhala na jane srijan. Such a person, being unsatisfied, begins to blaspheme Lord Brahma, saying that he does not know the art of creating well and is simply inexperienced. Of course, Brahmaji gets all the blame. Koti netra nahi dila sabe dila dui, tahate nimesha Krishna ki dekhi bemu. He has not given millions of eyes to see the beauty of Krishna. He has given only 2 eyes, and even those eyes blink. How then shall I see the lovely face of Krishna? Can we even imagine the feelings if a devotee has this, that he's so beautiful, I wish I had millions of eyes to see him. And actually, similar sentiments Rupa Goswami has not Rupa Goswami, Haridas Thakur has expressed, that there is so much of taste in chanting of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I wish I had millions of tongues and millions of ears, and with each tongue I would chant the holy name, and with each ear I would hear that holy name. And here we have only 1 tongue and 2 ears, and with that tongue we got so many other things to do. And just chanting 16 rounds is just too much of trouble. And here Here, devotee is asking, I wish I had millions of eyes to see the beauty of Krishna. And the gopis, they had said this, Atati yata bhavan ahanikananam trutir yugayate tvam apashyata kutil kuntalam shri mukham chate jado dikshatam pakshma kridrisham. The gopis said, O Krishna, when you go to the forest during the day and we do not see your sweet face, which is surrounded by beautiful curling hair, half a second becomes as long as an entire age for us. And we consider the creator again, Brahmaji gets the blame, who has put eyelids on the eyes we use for seeing you, to be simply a fool. He doesn't know how to do the creation. Of course, this is sung by gopis. And how long, of course, they say during the day, but this is Trutir Yugayate Tvama Pashyat. Truti means half a second, actually. Half a second, as long as becomes as long as an entire age for us. And Shloka says yuga. It appears like a whole yuga has gone when we don't see you for half a second. Actually, that kind of desire, or desire is not even the right word, lolo. The greed has to be developed in us. Then we will be eligible to go back to the spiritual. Gopyasya Krishnam uplabdya chirad avishtam yat prekshane drishishu pakshma kritam shapanti trigvir hrudi kritam alam parirabhya sarvas tad bhavam apur api nitya yajam durapam. The gopis saw the beloved Krishna at Kurukshetra after a long separation. They secured and embraced him in their hearts through their eyes, and they attained a joy so intense that not even perfect yogis can attain it. The gopis cursed the creator for creating eyelids that interfered with their vision. Now, this is text from 82nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a gopis feeling. How much they love Krishna. Krishna valokan vina netra phal nahi aan. Yehi jana Krishna dekhe sahi bhagyavan. There is no consummation for the eyes other than the sight of Krishna. Whoever sees him is most fortunate indeed. Akshanvatam phalam idam na param vidamaham sakhya pashun anuviveshayator vayasya Vaktram Rajesha Sutayor Anuveno Jushtam Yervam Nipitam Anurakta Kataksha Moksham. The Gopi said, O friends, those eyes that see the beautiful faces of the sons of Maharaj Nanda are certainly fortunate. As these two sons enter the forest surrounded by their friends driving the cows before them, they hold their flutes to their mouths and glance lovingly upon the residents of Vrindavan. For those who have eyes, we think there is no greater object of vision. Like the gopis, one can see Krishna continuously if one is fortunate enough. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said the sages whose eyes have been smeared with the ointment of pure love can see the form of Shyamsundar Krishna continuously in the centers of their hearts. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto 21st chapter was sung by gopis on the advent of the Sharad season. So they're talking about both the brothers, Krishna and Balaram. And they're entering the forest with the cows, playing on the flute, accompanied by their friends. And gopis are singing, and this is what they are saying. So that kind of love we have to develop before we can see them continuously. Gopyas tapah kim acharanya damushya rupam lavanya saram asamordhava ananya siddham Dirigbi pibanti anusava bhinamam durapamu ekanta dham yashasa shriya aishwarasya. The women of Mathura said, what austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes, they always drink the nectar of the form of Lord Krishna, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equaled or surpassed. That form is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 44th chapter, was spoken by the women of Mathura when they saw Krishna and Balram in the arena with King Kansa's great wrestlers, Mushtik and Chanur. So in that arena, everybody was seeing Krishna and Balram, but because their hearts or their feelings were different, they were seeing Krishna and Balram differently. Gopis, the women of Mathura, thinking of austerities of gopis and how they would drink the nectar of Krishna in the forest with them. And Mushtik and Chanur, they were the wrestlers, and how they were seeing Krishna and Balram, not exactly as the women of Mathura. They were seeing them, oh, these are death personified appeared before us. Apurva Madhuri Krishnera Apurva Tarabam Yahare Shravane Man Ayatalavam. The sweetness of Lord Krishna is unprecedented, and its strength is also unprecedented. Simply by one's hearing of such beauty, the mind becomes unsteady. Krishnera Madhurya Krishna Upajaya Lobha Samyaka Swadite Nare Mane Rahe Kshobha. Lord Krishna's own beauty attracts Lord Krishna himself, but because he cannot fully enjoy it, his mind remains full of sorrow. Eita dvitiya hetur kahila vivaran, tritiya hetur eve shona lakshan. This is a description of his second desire. Now please listen as I describe the third desire. Atyanta nigude rase rasiddhanta Sarupa Gosai matra jane na ekanta. This conclusion of rasa is extremely deep. Only Swarup Damodar knows much about it. Yeba keha anya jane seho taha haite Chaitanya Gosai irtena atyanta marma jate. Anyone else who claims to know it must have heard it from him, for he was the most intimate companion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gopi Garnir Premera Ruda Bhavana Vishuddha Nirmala Prem Kabhu Nahi Kam. The love of the gopis is called Ruda Bhav. Ruda Bhav. It is pure and spotless. It is not at any time lust. So it's not at all. It's Nahi Kam, Kabhu Nahi Kam. It's love, pure and spotless. As already explained, the position of the gopis in their loving dealings with Krishna is transcendental. Their emotion is called a Ruda Bhav. Although it is apparently like mundane sex, one should not confuse it with mundane sexual love, for it is pure and unadulterated love of Godhead, completely pure. Premeva Gopa Ramanam Kama Itya Gamat Pratha Iti Uddhavadayo Apietam Vanchanti Bhagavad Priya. The pure love of the gopis has become celebrated by the name lust. The dear devotees of the Lord, headed by Sri Uddhava, desire to taste that love. This is a verse from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Kama prema dohankara vibhinna lakshan loha ara hema yache sarupeve lakshan. Lust and love have different characteristics, just as iron and gold have different natures. So one should try to discriminate between sexual love and pure love, for they belong to different categories, with a gulf of difference between them. They are as different from one another as iron is from gold. And next verse is very, very important verse. Atmendriya priti vancha tare balika. Krishnendriya priti cha dhare prema. The desire to gratify one's own senses is calm or lust, but the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema or love. So the desire to gratify one's own senses is calm or lust. But the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema. Of course, and in material world we say, I love you, and so much of money and gifts are exchanged on Valentine's Day in the name of love. But according to scripture, it's all lust because it is to gratify my senses, nothing to do with pleasing the senses of Krishna. So definitely it's not love, it's all lust. And once that emotion or feeling or infatuation goes away, then those two people, they'll just hate each other and ready to even kill each other. That's not at all love. It's all lust. As long as you gratify my senses, I'll call it love. But with Krishna, that's not the case. The revealed scriptures describe pure love as follows. Sarvatha dvamsha rahitam sati api dvansha karan yad bhava bandhanam yuno sa prema parikirtita. If there is ample reason for the dissolution of a conjugal relationship, and yet such a dissolution does not take place, there's ample reason for dissolution, but yet such a dissolution does not take place. Such a relationship of intimate love is called pure. The predominated gopis were bound to Krishna in such pure love. For them, there was no question of sexual love based on sense gratification. Their only engagement in life was to see Krishna happy in all respects, regardless of their own personal interest. They dedicated their souls only for the satisfaction of the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna. There was not the slightest tinge of sexual love between the gopis and Krishna. So that's why it's called pure love. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita asserts with authority that sexual love is a matter of personal sense enjoyment. All the regulative principles in the Vedas pertaining to desires of popularity, fatherhood, wealth, and so on are different phases of sense gratification. Acts of sense gratification may be performed under the cover of public welfare, nationalism, religion, altruism, ethical codes, biblical codes, health directives, fruitive action, bashfulness, tolerance, personal comfort, liberation from material bondage, progress, family affection, or fear of social ostracism, or legal punishment. But all these categories are different subdivisions of one substance, which is sense gratification. Basically, it's all sense gratification. It pleases me, so that's why I'll do it. Or it gives me comfort, gives my mind some happiness, so I'll do it. So it all comes under one umbrella of sense gratification. All such good acts are performed basically for one's own sense gratification, for no one can sacrifice his personal interest while discharging these much advertised moral and religious principles. So there is some personal interest involved. But above all this is a transcendental stage. So this is all sense gratification at material level. But above all this is a transcendental state in which one feels himself to be only an eternal servitor of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. All acts performed in this sense of servitude are called pure love of God because they are performed for the absolute sense gratification or sense pleasure of Krishna. However, any act performed for the purpose of enjoying its fruits or results is an act of sense gratification. Such actions are visible sometimes in gross and sometimes in subtle. Now, although Prabhupada has explained it plenty of times earlier, so all acts performed in this sense of servitude are called pure love of God, to please Krishna. Now, how do we know what acts to do to please Krishna? That's where the scriptures come in. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. All these acts, Navda Bhakti, these are the acts Krishna says, you perform, it pleases me. Man manabhav madhvakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. You do that, it pleases me. Now even in those acts of bhakti, although Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, there could be, because we are so much materially engrossed, there could be activities that pleases me actually. But I might be doing in the name of bhakti. Okay, that is good. It might not be pure bhakti, but at least it is bhakti. Pure bhakti, sarva upadhi vinirmuktam, tat paratvena nirmuktam. Sarva upadhi means all the upadhis, all the titles, all the isms, all that. I am this, I am that, they'll be gone. Either we remove it or Krishna removes it. It will be very painful. And he will remove it because he wants us to develop that pure love. So it might start from sense gratification, that I like it. Shravanam Kirtanam, I like to hear, I like to sing the glories, but in the process, Krishna, give me some encouragement that I'll do it if I get some credit for it, or I get some cash for it, or I get some name, fame because of that. And then slowly, we keep on doing the same activities, and when we are getting purified, our realizations are increasing, and whatever we are more attached, Krishna has to remove that attachment, because he wants us to be attached to him, not to any of those titles or entitlements. So when he removes it, it's very, very painful, very painful. But this is how we make progress. So because he wants us to develop that pure love of God, that even if we not recognize, even if nobody cares, but we still want to chant, we want to hear with the pure heart. And other activities we want to perform, or we love to perform. Kamera tatparya nitya sambhoga keval, Krishna sukha tatparya matra prema taprabal. The object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's own senses. But love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna. Thus it is very powerful. Love and caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna. Lok dharma, Ved dharma, De dharma karma, Lajja, Dhairya, Deh sukha, Atma sukha. Dustyaja Aryapath Nij Parijan, Swajane kare yat tadana bharsan. Sarva tyag kari kare Krishnera bhajan. Krishna Sukha Hetu Kare Prema Sevan. Social customs, scriptural injunctions, bodily demands, fruitive action, shyness, patience, bodily pleasures, self-gratification, and the path of Varnashram Dharma, which is difficult to give up. The gopis have forsaken all these, along with their families, and suffered their relatives' punishment and scolding, all for the sake of serving Lord Krishna. They render loving service to him for the sake of his enjoyment. That's why gopis love, gopis bhav, gopis service is considered the topmost. And among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani's position is the topmost among all the gopis. So they were doing it for the sake of his enjoyment. And amazing thing is, when Krishna was playing on the flute in the middle, in that full moon night, banks of Yamuna, and every gopi was hearing that flute is calling her personally, and they all ran. So over there it is said, gopis were trying to serve him for the sake of his enjoyment. And Krishna was reciprocating with them for their love. He was trying to please the gopis. Krishna is Atmana. He is trying to please his devotees. Devotees are trying to please him. So this is love. And it is said the closest relationship in the material world that comes to spiritual love is a relationship between mother and her babies. But that is the closest. But the gopis, they've forsaken all social customs, scriptural injunctions, bodily demands, karma, fruitive action, shyness, patience, bodily pleasure, self-gratification, and the path of varnashram. When they were leaving their homes in the middle of the night, and it was mentioned, some gopis were cooking, and and some were feeding their babies, some were feeding their husbands, in-laws, or doing some other household activity, and they all just ran towards Krishna. Didn't even think twice that what will happen to us when we come back. Our family members are not going to accept us. Society will not accept this behavior. They didn't even think. And some of the gopis who still needed some purification, they were kept in their houses forcibly by their husbands or their brothers or whatever. And they just left the bodies and they came in the spiritual forms over there. Of course, gopis are all spiritual, but they just left. They died because they were so eager to meet Krishna, to please him. Of course, we are not saying that we become gopis, but we just have to appreciate the mood of the gopis, their surrender, their desire to please Krishna. Iha ke kahiye Krishna drida anurag, swachha dhauta vastre yache nahi kon dan. That is called firm attachment to Lord Krishna. It is spotlessly pure, like a clean cloth that has no stain. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita advises everyone to give up all engagements of sense gratification and, like the gopis, dovetail oneself entirely with the will of the Supreme Lord. That is the ultimate instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. We should be prepared to do anything and everything to please the Lord, even at the risk of violating the Vedic principles or ethical laws. Of course, ethical laws don't mean we start stealing or, well, some people have done that, but that's not really recommended. That is the standard of love of Godhead. Such activities in pure love of Godhead are as spotless as white linen that has been completely washed. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns us in this connection that we should not mistakenly think that the idea of giving up everything implies a renunciation of duties necessary in relation to the body and mind. Even such duties are not sense gratification if they are undertaken in a spirit of service to Krishna. So such duties, so whatever family duties we have, so we have to take care of them, no matter how difficult they are. And as Prabhupada said, even such duties are not sense gratification if they're undertaken in a spirit of service to Krishna. It's a spirit of service. That Krishna, you have given me this responsibility and I'll take care of it. And as we'll read further, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Jagannath Puri, he came to Ramkeli and met Rup Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. And Rup and Sanatan Goswami, they were ministers in the kingdom of Nawab Hussain Shah. They wanted to leave those posts and be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, at that time they did not ask, but after Mahaprabhu left, they wrote letters to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu just wrote one thing. Just like a woman, married woman who has an extramarital affair, so she does her household duties so perfectly, but inside, in her heart, she is always thinking of that lover. So basically the idea was you carry on with your services, but in your heart, always think of Krishna. How can you serve Krishna? And Krishna will make arrangements that you'll come to him. And then it is later on, by mercy of Mahaprabhu, they left the job and they met Mahaprabhu and they got the instructions and they wrote so many books. So we have to wait for that. But till then, we have to carry on with our duties properly, not thinking that there are any kind of hindrance or any extra responsibilities and I don't want to do it. We are not ready, then we are not ready. That's it. Ateva kama prema bahuta antara, kama andhatama prema nirmala bhaskara. Therefore, lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. Ateva gopi ganir nahi kama gandha, Krishna sukha lagi matra, Krishna se sambandha. Thus, there is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. Yatta suja charnam bruham staneshu bhita shane priya dadi mahi karkasheshu tenata vimatasi tat vyatate nakim sat kurpa dibhir brahmati dhir bhavad ayushaman. Ayushamsana. Oh dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that when we place them gently on our breast, fearing that your feet will be hurt, our life rests only in you. Our minds therefore are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam around on the forest path. So this was spoken by gopis when Krishna left them in the midst of the Ras Lila. Atma sukha dukhe gopir nahi kavichara, Krishna sukha hetu cheshta mano vyavahar. The gopis do not care for their own pleasure or pains. All their physical and mental activities are directed towards offering enjoyment to Lord Krishna. Krishna lagi aar sab kare parityaga, Krishna sukha hetu kare shuddha anuraga. They renounced everything for Krishna. They have pure attachment to giving Krishna pleasure. So that's all they want to do. Evam mad artho jita lok veda swanam hivo mai anuvarte abalaha maya paroksham bhajata tirohitam mayushitam masuyitum marhata tat priyam priya. O my beloved gopis, you have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, and your relatives for my sake. I disappeared behind you only to increase your concentration. Since I disappeared for your benefit, you should not be displeased with me. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 32nd chapter, was spoken by Lord Krishna when he returned to the arena of Ras Lila. So, well, I guess this topic keeps going for some more time, so we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you. Very deep.
Oh yeah, it's very, very deep.
Very deep, Prabhuji.
Okay,
I was just thinking that in this world, we have everything, concerned with love. Whereas, everything is lust.
Yeah.
Lust, we just don't think lust hai. We just think everything is love. ऐसा हो रहा है तो भैया love है तो exactly actually जब पढ़ रहे हैं तो समझ आ रहा है बस वाकई में lust है. There's no love at all.
Yeah. And we see that when somebody's expectations are not met with us, then how they behave.
बड़ी जल्दी लड़ाइयाँ हो जाती हैं प्रभु जी.
Oh.
2 मिनट में.
But Krishna is not like that.
Yeah. Actually, love जो अब समझ में आ रहा है, it's very pure and बड़ी high चीज है, और हमने उसको इतना घटिया बना दिया है.
वो पिक्चरों में ऐसे दिखाया जाता है ना.
हाँ, पिक्चरों में देखने हैं वो बस वही सब कुछ है, तो it's like it becomes so cheap that it's available everywhere. It's like ऐसे लगता है कि बस सब कुछ ही love है. It's not that. It's very high. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mata. Thank you.
Jai
You all
Shila
have a safe
Prabhupada.
and wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Shila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.